Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a Valorant agents tier list. This list is going to be for pro play only. I'm just going to be going through every agent, telling you pretty much just what I think about the agent and how useful they are on X amount of maps. And ranking them into tiers. If you guys enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'm going to be coming out with some EMEA off-season grades after this video. I'm not sure exactly when. I do still have to watch one more player for EMEA, but I'll probably be doing that after I record this video. So yeah, that'll be coming out in the next couple days, and then I'll be live streaming myself, VOD reviewing some of the Pacific players that I have not watched yet, just seeing what I think of them, and then I'll be doing a Pacific offseason grades video after that. Then after that, I will be doing a series where I go through every team in depth and cover what I think about them and also power ranking them. I'm going to be starting with the worst team and going up to the team that I think is the best in the world. I will not be doing Chinese teams, maybe outside of EDG, but other than that, I'm going to be doing all 33 teams as in-depth of coverage as I could give you on most of the players. And yeah, other than that, I don't really have too much else to say other than leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. And yeah, let's get right into it. So we're going to start with the two that I think are pretty obvious S tier agents, at least in pro play. We have Viper at the top. I think she's the best agent in the game right now. She's pretty much played on every map other than Ascent, and I think you could definitely see her being played on that map at some point, whether it be with Harbor or without. But other than that, she's pretty much meta on every map, which is kind of crazy. If you think about it, there's only been a few agents that have ever done that, being like Prime Astra. Even Prime Chamber wasn't fully there, but I think he probably was. I mean, yeah, you could consider a meta on every map, and then Prime Jett, I think, are the three, maybe other than Sova. Even no, Sova wasn't on Split when he was in it. So yeah, those three, and then Viper now are pretty much meta on every map, barring maybe just one. And yeah, she's just so good at like creating pressure around the map. She's not really a controller. She's not really a sentinel. She's kind of just a agent that's designed to create pressure and deny info from the enemy team, both on the attack and the defensive side. And on the defensive side, she's just so good at like stalling out pushes and everything like that, that it just makes her the best agent in the game. Now, the other agent I have here, which might be a little bit of a hot take, you could definitely put her in A tier, and I wouldn't fully disagree with you. But I'm gonna put Raze here in S tier, which, this is entirely based on pick rate. I think she's one of the strongest agents in the game right now. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, she's really not like meta on enough maps. Okay, hold on. I gotta pull up the VLR page for Red Bull. 100 Thieves. Let me see here. Okay. I just need to have the maps in front of me. So she's not really played on Ascent at all. Bind, she's 100% pick rate. Haven, you can play her, depending on the comp. Lotus, she's pretty much 100%, other than maybe a couple Neon picks. Split, should be 100%, right? Yeah. Breeze, she's not picked at all, but Sunset, she should be the duelist you pick 99% of the time. There can be some other comps, like I think Neon's pretty good on that map, but I mean Yoru is, but you play him with Raze, so that really doesn't matter. So I'm gonna move Raze down here, but I still think she's at the top of A tier here, just because she's gonna end up having a higher pick rate than our next agent, which is gonna be Jett, who, I mean, based on pick rate and maps, really shouldn't be here. She's probably more of a bottom A tier agent, but she's still Jett. Like, come on, man. She can still get out of any engagement. She can still probably be the best op agent in the game. Still a fairly good entry duelist. She's super meta on Ascent, Haven, and Breeze. Those are her main 3 maps. Let me scroll over so I can see the names of the maps. She's also a very highly picked agent on Split. And yeah, I think all that combined with the fact that you probably could run her on any map and get away with it um, makes her an A tier agent. You could argue S tier or even above Raze here, but personally, I just think she's a little bit lower because the pick rate's not high enough to justify that. And then next we have Sky in A tier, who just recently got a nerf to her dog, where you can't look around while jumping, which is gonna make it feel a little bit awkward. But I do think it's a good nerf despite it lowering the skill ceiling of Sky. But that being said, I do think that was kind of a stupid feature. It does kind of allow you to like be able to break the dog easier. You can now stun your teammates. It doesn't explode on contact and stun, I believe, or no, it when you shoot it, I think, or something like that. I don't remember. Um, so essentially, the dog just got a big nerf. The flashes have gotten nerfed since champs. So I think it definitely moves her down, but I do still think with how good Viper is right now, it puts Sky heavily into the meta. That's why she's an A tier agent. Like I still think she's going to be super meta on Split, Lotus, and Bind, and probably Haven as well, just because of the guard comp on that map. And yeah, I think she's still going to be very good. She's the most flexible initiator in the game right now. And then next up in A tier we have Killjoy. No surprise here, still probably the best Sentinel in the game. I mean, even with these Cipher buffs, being meta on Ascent, Haven, and Lotus all at the same time still, I think those are going to be her main 3 maps. I do think she's going to lose some pick rate on the other ones, especially losing Fracture and Pearl, 2 of her better maps as well. Because she's going to have a 0% pick rate on Bind. I don't think there's any way teams are picking Killjoy on that map anymore. Split, she's going to have a very low pick rate, if not 0%, because of these Cipher buffs. Breeze, she was never good on that map anyway. And Sunset, I do think she's a little bit underrated, but I think she should have a pretty low pick rate on that map as well. But regardless, she is kind of like Jett, just insane on 3 maps, and then you could probably get away with playing her on any other map if you really wanted to. And then our last A tier agent here is Cipher, who recently got a massive buff to his trips. And I think he could go even higher than this. I think he could be by far the best Sentinel in the game. I just don't know, and I don't feel comfortable putting him ahead of Killjoy, especially because she still has an insanely high pick rate. Let me look up. Let me see the Superdome pick rates, because I don't know if this was new Cipher or not. Okay, yeah, so I think it was new Cipher because it moved Killjoy down to a 43% pick rate and Cipher down to a 36, which makes sense. I think it's going to be something like that, where Killjoy's played on certain maps and Cipher's played on others. I do think Killjoy having an 100% pick rate on Ascent could be different, but I do think her ult is really good at like cycling ults with like the KO ult, the Sova ult, and that all together to have good like sight hits and retakes. I do think Killjoy is still better at that, but I do think Cypher's kit as a whole is better than Killjoy. So it's going to be interesting to see on that map specifically. And I think that'll determine who gets put ahead of the other one. But right now, I still believe Killjoy is slightly better, even though Cipher has gotten a lot better than he has been in the past. All right, now on to B tier, where I think we have some interesting agents here. First off, we're going to have, where is he? Omen, who I think is going to take a fairly significant hit in his pick rate. What's not in here? It's 6 map. Wait, okay, so I'm still looking at the Superdome for this. It's missing a map in here. Lotus, Sunset, Ascent, Haven, Split. Oh, it's because they didn't play another map. Okay. That's fine. I don't really care. Regardless, Back to Red Bull. Sorry for the delay. But like Omen's gonna be still super meta on Ascent. I believe that. I think that comp probably won't change. Um, but it's possible. Bind he won't get picked on because he never has. Haven, I think he'll be a majority of the time the main controller next to Viper. But I do think that Astra in like the Breach Sova comps, if teams want to run that, is potentially better. And that Harbor you can also play in that double controller comp if you really want to. But personally, I prefer the Omen for that. And yeah, on that map, he's going to be good. Lotus, I think Astra might be slightly better. But again, it's really splitting hairs between what you would want to pick. That's pretty much a 50-50 in my head for most teams. Split, he's gotten a higher pick rate recently, but I don't understand that. I've always been on the Astra train on that map. I still think she's better. Maybe with Cipher coming back into the meta, teams are going to be running more of the Fnatic-S comps that I do think Omen is better in. So maybe that'll be the trend with that. Breeze, he won't get picked on at all, I don't think. In Sunset, you might see him. I do think Harbor Viper is better. I do think maybe Harbor Viper might not be better with the sky changes. But I do think Astra's still very good. Obviously, he's better than Brim on that map. So we'll just have to see with Sunset as well. So I do think you could argue Omen for A tier, but personally, I think he's B tier just because I think some of the pick rates are a little bit inflated for what I think of the agents on the maps. So that's, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I think of Omen. I do think he is, on the maps that he is really good on, he is super good on, especially on Ascent. And then we have Astra next in B tier, who does have a significantly lower pick rate as of now. But I do think she should be the main controller on Split, like 75+% pick rate. Lotus, I think she probably is slightly better in most comps. Haven, obviously, as I said, she's going to be the main smoke in the like Breach Sova comps, in my opinion. And then Sunset, I think she could end up being meta as like the main smoke player or smoke agent. But it could also depend on if teams want to run Viper, if teams want to. I don't know. I mean, like we've really just seen Cloud9 run her, in like these bigger off-season tournaments. I don't really remember any Chinese teams. Not that I don't remember them running them specifically, but I just don't remember what they were playing at all on Sunset, other than like a couple teams playing Sova. But overall, I do think Astra is a little bit underrated. And I think it's kind of for the opposite reason of why I'm leaving Omen down in B tier. I'm going to put Astra maybe a little bit higher than some other people would put her. And then next up, we have Chamber, who has pretty much stayed the same in my eyes. I do think there's a chance for him to go even lower here. I don't think he's going to go too much higher. Just because the other Sentinels are probably just better. But on maps like Bind, if certain teams don't really have a Sentinel player, or their Sentinel player is playing Viper, they could throw their Opera onto Chamber. Same thing with Sunset, where I think he's really good. Breeze, I could see maybe if they want to play like a Neon or something like that. But other than that, I don't really think he's going to be too great on any maps. Maybe Split, honestly. But I'm talking myself into moving him down. I think I will, honestly, because he probably isn't even the best option on any of those maps. So we'll leave him here. Next up, we have KO, who, similarly to Jett and Killjoy, is why he's here. Obviously, his main map is Ascent. He's also very good on Breeze, which is a big reason why he's here, not in C tier. Um, I do think the meta shifts a little bit. He will come back into the meta a little bit more. But I do think he can be played on every map, which is a very good thing. But that's if you have like a specific comp that you want to play KO in. It's not like he's the best option on any map or anything like that. But like in the Red Bull home ground tournament, he was picked on every map by like I don't even know who. Like Foot picked him on Bind. Actually, I'm gonna assume this is all Foot. They picked him on Haven. Uh, Fennel picked him on Lotus, which was weird. Um, every team picked him on Ascent, obviously. Um, as far as I know, nobody picked him on. Oh no, Scars picked him on Split. Also, there's just like the random teams in here that I didn't even realize. Everybody picked him on Breeze, pretty much. Focus on Sunset. So like, he does have some viability um, on every map. It's just he's not really the best option. But I do think that um, he could end up being a higher pick rate agent if Sky kind of falls out of the meta, if there's Viper nerfs incoming. Um, I think you could see more single controller comps and go back to double initiator kind of stuff. But yeah, we don't know. But I am going to put him there just because I do think he is has kind of a baseline value on every map. And then next up, um, this one's another one that I'm not fully sure about, honestly. I have Sova in B tier, who, like, he is super meta on Ascent. I think some teams have started to lean towards the Fade a little bit more, which I disagree with. I still think Sova is the best on that map. Even he's played in those Sova Breach comps. I don't think any team should be playing anything other than him. Unless they're playing a Raze, then I think you could play the Fade, and I wouldn't have too much of an issue with that. Lotus, some teams have tried him. I don't think he's that good. Breeze, I think most teams should be playing him unless you're going to play Harbor Viper. Because in that case, I do think you still need Cipher on that map. I don't think you need a Sentinel, but Cipher is too good to not pick on Breeze, so you kind of have to take him. But also the Sova is kind of necessary for breaking the Cipher trips on some of these maps. So you could see him more on, jeez, I don't know, Bind, but I don't think Bind has any unbreakable Cipher trips or anything like that. And you have Raze kind of do stuff. Split, you're not going to see him. Sunset, some teams have also tried him on that map, which kind of boosted him up into the B tier rather than C. But overall, I do think Sova will be good this year. Probably better than he was last year, but I don't think he's going to be like the best initiator in the game or anything, as I have him ranked third here. All right, and now we get into the C tier. I think I'm going to start this one off with Chamber. I did have him in B tier, obviously, and then I moved him down now after thinking about it a little bit more. I just don't think he's good enough on enough maps to warrant him being in B tier, which sucks because I do kind of like Chamber. I do think he can be good on Lotus, but he's never going to be picked over Cipher or Killjoy. And I think that's a lot of the logic for most of these maps. Then next up is Harbor, who I think is going to fall out of the meta a little bit here. I think last year I would have had him in like high B, low A kind of thing. Just because I think most of these double controller comps he's going to be replaced with Omen, or just his best maps are going to be gone, like Pearl. Like Pearl would be the one where I am keeping Harbor to be the second controller next to Viper. But like that's gone. Bind, he's kind of like most of his play has kind of fizzled out. Breeze, I do think he will be meta on Breeze, or at least should be, just because having the one Viper wall really limits you into what you can do. And then other than that, it's like Haven, where he's seen a big drop off. And then like Sunset, where I do think he should be picked more than he has been. Um, but with the Sky nerfs incoming again, I could see that just not being a thing. Um, yeah, I don't really have too much else to say. I do think he's a good agent. I have a lot of fun playing him in ranked. Um, well, I actually don't play him in ranked that much. I play him a lot in like casual games like Swift play and rated and stuff. Um, but yeah, I just don't think he'll be super meta in pro play anymore. Uh, not really like he was last year. And then next up, we have Breach, who lost his best map by far in Fracture. I do still think he's going to be meta on Split. I do still think he's going to be meta on Haven in certain comps. I think he could be very good on Sunset, but he's not going to get picked on any other map at all. And some of these are kind of big ifs. Like he's not a 100% pick rate on Split, even though I do think he should be up there. On Haven, he's going to be probably around like 20 at best. Just because I don't think he's going to be. I don't think the Breach comps are going to be good enough against this Harbor Viper stuff. Sorry, double controller, not Harbor Viper. Generally Harbor or not Viper Omen, but could also be Harbor. And yeah, I just again, he's not going to be good enough on his maps that he's good on, and he's not good on a lot of maps either. Obviously, he's still a very strong agent, and I do think like TMV has always had a thing where he goes through like the agent stats and their win rates, and he hates on Breach all the time, and I just don't get it. Like, okay, the win rate isn't good, but like you can see that the comp is good, so it just makes sense. Um, Again, I do think the Breach comps on Haven are worse, and teams should be playing the Harbor Omen. So why do I keep saying Harbor Omen? It is 12:30 a.m. So give me a break. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't think he's as good as he used to be, but he's still a very solid agent, and you can get away with playing him if you really want to. Next up, we have Gecko, who I'm not really sure what to do with because he could end up getting higher than this. I do think the changes to his flash are very good, along with being able to pick up the utility a lot faster. I think that's actually a really big deal because it just felt like every time teams would play Gecko, they just played so slow that it just like the Gecko was actively slowing them down rather than helping them, which kind of is an issue, but I still think it is a slight issue with Gecko, which is why I still have him down here, but I could see him definitely climbing here. I just don't know exactly how much. We'll just have to see. I don't really have too much else to say other than that, other than good buffs, Riot. Then next up, we have Brimstone, who, I mean, lost his second best map. He'll have an 100% pick rate on Bind, unless teams want to try Harbor again. And then other than that, he's not going to be played on anything else, but I do think he is good enough on Bind that it warrants him being at least in C tier here. Oh, shit. I skipped an agent because I moved Chamber down and I didn't look. So we're going to be adding Yoru in here ahead of Breach, who I think is these Yoru comps on Bind are incredible, and more teams should be playing them. I think Sentinels this year is going to end up being the best team in the world on Bind, in my opinion, just because of how good they are at the Yoru comp. I mean, C9's played it a few times and has been very good at it. So, honestly, Yoru is not that bad right now. On top of Bind, he's also been played a little bit on Sunset by C9 and looked fairly good, and on Breeze by a couple of teams, where I do think he could end up being actually meta on Breeze, but we just don't know too much. He does have potential to climb, kind of similar to Gecko, but I'm just not fully there yet. with Yaru. And then now on to Fade. I kind of lost where I was reading. Who there's potential to fall here, really, because like yeah, some teams have started to play her on Ascent a little bit more. She might get picked a little bit more on Haven instead of Sova, just because Jett's kind of been nerfed a little bit. Some teams might be scared to play her and play Raze on that map instead. Um, where is she here? Lotus, I do think she's actually fairly good on. Personally, I prefer Sky, kind of similar to how I prefer Astra over Omen. But it's close enough that I can't like complain when teams run Fade. And then on Sunset, I do think she's actually fairly good, despite some people saying that she's bad on Sunset, which doesn't make sense to me. Anytime Raze is good on a map, Fade can be decent. But I do think this agent does need a little bit of a buff, but not like a huge one either. And then I'm tempted to move these last two agents in C tier down to D tier, but I don't think they're quite bad enough to warrant that. Actually, I'm going to move the last one down, but this one's going to stay. I'm going to leave Neon in C tier here, just because I think she's good enough on Lotus to where you can still play her a good amount. I think I said it earlier. I still believe that she can be good on Sunset, even though that's probably not going to happen. And on Breeze, I do think she could also be meta. She had a brief stint where it looked like she might end up becoming the meta duelist, but just the opping on Jett was too good. So I do still think Neon can be played on the map, but probably not. Most of this, like most of her being here is just personal opinions of mine that she is good on Sunset and good on Breeze, and also good on Lotus, but she's really not going to be played on too many of those maps, which is why I considered dropping her. But I'm going to leave her here in C tier. And now, lastly, onto D tier. I'm going to start from the bottom here. And I'm going to put Deadlock where she rightfully belongs. You could argue she's a tier below, and I wouldn't really be too upset with that. She's just bad. I don't know. The style of agent is bad. All the abilities are bad. I don't really know what else to say. Like the sound sensors are okay on defense to like catch people like dropping at a hookah, dropping off lane on Ascent. Just stuff like that. You can combo it with Killjoy setups and it'll be really good, but like you're not gonna run double Sentinel, man. Yeah, she just sucks. I don't think that's a particularly hot take, and yeah. And then next up, I have this in a certain order, but I don't know if I agree with it. Because it's two agents that I want to flip flop maybe. I'm gonna leave it as it is. I'm gonna put Phoenix here in D tier. Losing Pearl, which was his only map that I thought he was viable on, and I actually thought he was fairly meta on that map. Last time I did this, I had him in C tier, so that kind of made it. Like him losing that map kind of just made him feel useless. In this meta, like you're never gonna play him. I mean, I guess some teams tried him on Ascent, but like, come on, man. You're never gonna play him on Haven. Never gonna play him on Lotus. Never gonna play him on Bind. Never gonna play him on Breeze. Never gonna play him on Split. Some teams have tried him on Sunset, but like, come on, dude. Really? Like, he's not gonna be meta on Sunset. So he just really doesn't have a place in the meta right now. I don't think he really has a place in any meta. I just think he sucks as well. And then Reyna, who I think the only reason she is even on here is that Paper X plays her sometimes, and you might be able to get away with playing her on like Bind or Breeze. But overall, again, she sucks for pro play. And then next up, another agent that's good in ranked but not good in pro play is Sage. I don't know. She, again, kind of similar to Deadlock. The style of agent just isn't good. Her best map isn't in the game in Icebox. Um, Split, she's really fallen out of the meta. I don't think she's ever going to be meta on that map again. I do think you can kind of play her on Ascent sometimes, um, depending on how you want to play the map. But I still think KO is better. And then she's kind of a niche pick on Bind. So realistically, you're not going to play her on any map right now. And yeah, that'll just put her in the D tier. And same thing with ISO. I do think he is kind of an interesting agent with the vulnerables and being able to combo that with like raise nades, shock darts, all stuff like that. The wall is actually a fairly good ability, but I don't think the double tap's going to do too much. The ult is okay. I am kind of convincing myself into putting him up into C tier, but there's really just no place for him in the meta right now. And yeah, just because he's not a dive duelist. As you see, the 3 non-dive duelists are in D tier here. I guess Yoru, you could count that, but he has a TP, and he's mainly a secondary duelist and kind of play this kind of like an initiator in a way. So I don't think he really counts. Like you can consider him as whatever you want. Personally, I consider him more as an initiator than a duelist. But yeah. So this is a tier list. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Yeah, who would you put higher? Who would you put lower? Did I just get it exactly right? I don't know. I probably didn't. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.